So next one, going through the hex bar deadlift or the trap bar deadlift. So for the setup here, we're gonna wanna make sure that we're getting our hands in the right position and our feet in the right position. So once you've found the stance that you wanna use, when we load down to grab onto the hex bar, we wanna make sure that our hands are gonna be right next to our shins. We do not want the bar rolled out in front of us or rolled too far behind us. We wanna make sure that we are in line with that bar. So as he sets up for his deadlift, gets his feet placed, gets his hand placement, he's gonna make sure that he's in a nice neutral spine position, activating the lats before we initiate the ascent. So after we perform the setup on the hex bar, trap bar deadlift, we're gonna work on the ascent because we're gonna be starting from the floor, so we're not performing the descent just yet. So on the ascent portion, after we've gotten our good setup position, same kind of concept as the barbell deadlift. As we extend the knees, we're also extending the hip at the same time, keeping our hands in that same position, and then returning back. We don't want that bar to be in front of us or behind us as we go through. We want that bar path to stay relatively vertical as we perform those movements. So after we've got the setup and the ascent from the hex bar, trap bar deadlift, we're gonna work on our descent. So after we've locked out and we finish the movement, we're just gonna reverse that same movement. So keep the back flat, neutral spine, as we lower ourselves back down, still keeping that bar or those hands right next to our shins. As we go down, we don't want that bar to end up in front of us or behind us as we lower that bar back down. So for the bar path of the hex bar, trap bar deadlift, it's a little bit easier to maintain that vertical bar path because you don't have the barbell inhibiting what happens trying to go around the knees, down by the thigh. So using the trap bar is going to be easier to maintain your posture and your position versus using a barbell. So after we've performed the setup, the ascent, and the descent, and gone over the bar path of our hex bar, trap bar deadlift, we're just gonna go over safety protocols to make sure you're staying safe and not injuring yourself. When we go through the deadlift, we're gonna make sure that we set up some plates to elevate the barbell, so that way it requires less range of motion. So instead of starting all the way in that bottom position, if we elevate the bar onto some plates or a box, we can start our position here, making it a little bit easier to maintain a neutral spine throughout the deadlift. So if you notice on the hex bar deadlift, trap bar deadlift, you're rounding your back, you're not able to maintain your position, you're starting to lose your technique. We're gonna go ahead and bring that that hex bar closer to you. So we have a 45-pound plate and a 25-pound plate. We're gonna stack that on top right here. That's gonna eliminate some of the range of motion so it doesn't have to get into that deep position on his deadlift, making it a little bit easier. So we'll go ahead and roll this guy on here. As we notice, that bar is off of the ground, closer to his midline, making it easier to lift, easier to set up and maintain the neutral spine. So you notice we're taking away some range of motion, making it easier. As we progress here, if we wanted to get a little bit better at this movement, we can remove these 25-pound plates or remove whatever you've stacked it on. And we've removed about maybe 2 inches or so of range of motion. Put it back just on the 45s. And now we're progressing him back to the floor, which is ideally where we want to finish. We want to be able to deadlift from the floor.